In Rebel Ridge, the film follows Terry, a former Marine, as he heads to Shelby Springs to bail out his cousin Mike, who's been jailed for a minor drug possession charge. However, things take a dark turn when Terry is pulled over by corrupt officers, Steve and Evan, who seize the $30,000 he's carrying, suspecting it's drug money. The seizure sets off a series of events that expose a much larger web of corruption within the local police department. Terry heads to the county courthouse and meets Summer, a clerk who explains the seizure is called civil asset forfeiture, a tool designed to fight cartels but often abused. She lets it slip that the police chief pockets the proceeds to pad his department's discretionary fund. Fighting the forfeiture would cost Terry an arm and a leg, more than what was taken. Summer confides that something's fishy. The bail seems unusually high for Mike's charge. Terry's cousin's status as a key witness in a dangerous gang-related case pushes Terry to act fast to protect his cousin. The gang leader he put behind bars could no doubt be gunning for him once he hits state prison. Terry knows his cousin won't last long behind bars, so he calls Mr. Lee, a restaurant owner, and asks for a $10,000 wire to post bail. Terry tries to report the cash seizure to the Shelby Springs PD, but the chief, Sandy, accuses him of harassing his officers. Refusing to leave without his money, Terry offers a compromise. They keep the $26,000 and he just takes $10,000 to bail Mike out. Sandy considers it but doesn't bite. When Terry calls Mr. Lee back, things go from bad to worse. The cops had raided Lee's restaurant, taken the safe, and even bringing in drug-sniffing dogs. Lee is furious, accusing Terry of dragging his business into the mess. Terry goes back to Summer, who reveals more troubling info. Every case she flagged with sky-high bail had mysteriously been delayed. She advises him to push for a court order to get Mike out, but Terry knows time isn't on his side. Chief Sandy soon learns Terry was once a MACMAP, Marine Corps Martial Arts Program instructor. But before he can act, Terry shows up at the station. Sandy is annoyed, not because of Terry's earlier offer, but because Terry had the gall to think he was in a position to make one. Calm as ever, Terry throws out an old Marine acronym, PACE, a strategy for handling trouble. That's when the officers realize Terry isn't just some guy. He taught martial arts to the 6th Marine Regiment. Steve calls in backup, but it's too late. Terry disarms Steve and takes the police station hostage, walking out with a $10,000 bail. Officer Jessica helps Terry escape the station, but no sooner does he post bail than the cops arrive, roughing him up and throwing him in an old moldy prison dubbed the Catacombs. Evan, the more level-headed cop, drives Terry to see Chief Sandy. Earlier, Terry noticed stacks of cash at the station. Sandy claims it's all legally seized and will go back into the community, but Terry smells a rat. Sandy eventually agrees to return Terry's money, even buying him a truck as a peace offering. He takes Terry to the medical center where Mike is, only to reveal Mike was stabbed in prison. Despite Sandy's offer to sweep everything under the rug, Terry's cousin dies that night. The next day, Summer drives Terry out of town. She hands him case files showing Mike and other prisoners had been sitting in jail for 90 days, despite their charges not carrying jail time. Summer suspects corruption, but Terry, grief-stricken, just wants out. Later that night, Summer realizes someone has been in her house and injected her with drugs. She calls Terry for help, but refuses to go to the hospital, fearing it would be added to her record and jeopardize her custody of her daughter. As Terry tries to leave town, Officer Steve stops him and tries to kill him. Terry fends him off and escapes. Summer meets Terry at Mr. Lee's restaurant, where Lee is tending to a gunshot wound Terry received earlier. Terry's resolve hardens. Sandy's goons tried to take him out, and now he is out for blood. Summer, too, has a friend on the force, whom they nickname Serpico. They break into the judge's house, where the truth unravels. The lawsuit Sandy lost a few years ago was the tip of the iceberg. An illegal search led to a wrongful death, bankrupting the town. To keep his job, Sandy turned to civil asset forfeitures, raking in money and keeping the judge and other key players in his pocket. They learned that the hard drives containing incriminating dashcam footage are stored at the courthouse. Terry and Summer break into the catacombs to retrieve the drives. Terry decides to torch the place, while Summer goes back for the drug sample she was injected with. Summer gets caught by the cops, and Terry, desperate to rescue her, follows the police car transporting her. He crashes his vehicle into their car, but before he can take any further action, Sandy contacts him and proposes a swap. Summer, in exchange for the SD cards. But Terry has other plans. He leads the cops on a wild goose chase, but is actually outside the police station, using his truck to break into the property cage. He shoots Sandy with a non-lethal round, but Officer Jessica intervenes, and Terry mistakenly thinks she is Serpico. Confused, Jessica has no idea what he's talking about. Terry decides to seize everything, and once Summer is safe, he promises to turn himself in to the state police. As all the cops pull up outside the station, Jessica holds Terry at gunpoint and arrests him. It's then that Terry realizes she's not Serpico. Meanwhile, Steve destroys the SD cards and taunts Terry by mentioning that he injected Summer with drugs once more. Just as Steve is about to shoot Terry, Evan intervenes, reminding Steve that they're sworn officers and need to get Summer to the hospital. A standoff ensues, with Evan and Steve pointing guns at each other. In this moment, Terry realizes that Evan is actually Serpico, the one who's been helping Summer all along. Before the situation can escalate further, Sandy shoots Evan in the leg. Jessica wants to call for medical help for Evan, who is bleeding badly, but Sandy orders her to hold off. Seizing the moment, Terry drags Evan to the car where Summer is. As he tries to save their lives, Sandy and the other cops start shooting at them. Terry fends them off with grenades. Evan advises Terry to activate the disco lights on the car, which will turn on the dash cam with pre-event recording, capturing Evan's death on camera. Following Evan's advice, Terry sneaks up on the cops, knocking them out, and beats Steve to a pulp. As Sandy fires at him, Terry hits the lights, activating the dash cam. He then gives Summer first aid. As Terry drives away, Steve clings to the car, but a conscious Summer pushes him off. Evan tells Terry that he captured the chief's shooting on camera, but the recording needs to survive. Sandy tries to prevent the trio from crossing state lines, which would turn it into a federal case. With Terry's vehicle having a blown tire, Jessica crashes into Sandy's car, throwing him off the road and clearing a path for Terry. Surrounded by state police, Terry finally escapes Shelby Springs, and the trio breathes a sigh of relief. Jessica, meanwhile, points her gun at Sandy, demanding his surrender peacefully. Terry retrieves the DVR from the back of the car. As the film closes, Summer and Evan are taken to the hospital, and it's clear that they will recover and testify against Sandy. The dashcam footage holds the key to exposing the town's corruption, and with the state police now involved, justice is finally within reach. Terry, though bruised and battered, has not only avenged his cousin's death, but also exposed the truth behind the corrupt system that ensnared him.